Welcome back to Tales of Thailand. Today's story is from subscriber Guiseppe from Italy. In this episode, Guiseppe wrestles with some big questions about morality, intimacy, and double standards in modern society, using Thailand as a backdrop to explore how men and women understand love, desire, power, and guilt. He reflects on why sexual behavior is judged so differently from other serious issues in the world, why the rules around relationships seem inconsistent and unfair, and how little we actually understand about how women truly feel in these situations. Guiseppe doesn't offer easy answers. Instead, he invites us into his internal debate about responsibility, vulnerability, and the complicated power dynamics between the sexes, from casual encounters to long-term relationships, and even the emotional toll of simply being there to entertain others. It's a thoughtful, philosophical look at what intimacy really means and who gets to define what is right or wrong between men and women. What I find fascinating about the current debate among readers about the ethics and morality of men seeking adult pleasure and companionship in Thailand is how conflicted many of us are about it. The spectrum of feeling runs from indifference to deep guilt, with strong emotions when some men feel judged or misunderstood by others. Some are accused of being insensitive to the women involved or of lacking a normal range of human emotion. But there is one standout feature in most of what's written. There is very little attempt, beyond male opinions and emotional projections, to understand how women themselves actually feel about this world. On the other hand, there is a great deal of discussion about our own feelings and guilt, or lack of it, delivered in that typically male, direct and linear way we call rational thought. We build arguments from what we think we know, but we can't truly be certain, because none of us is a woman, and none of us processes life exactly from a woman's point of view. Many of us have grown up under the modern idea of equality, to the point that we assume men and women think along the same lines. And yet, most of us, at least those who are not hardened or numb, still carry a part of us that believes we should protect women, especially those we perceive, through our own mental and emotional filters, as vulnerable. I have no grand philosophy or simple rule book to offer other men on the issue of morality and ethics around casual intimacy, though I have a lot of experience thinking about it. That experience has mostly led me to ask more questions of myself and to wonder what kind of life men and women truly want to share. To begin with, it seems to me that in the modern world, there is really only one area where morality is loudly and constantly discussed, and that is sexuality. We go to war for reasons that aren't always clear to us, accept mass dislocation and death of people we hardly know, and live far from the parents we are supposed to honor. We know that governments, banks, employers, and even friends lie. Yet when it comes to intimacy between men and women, something natural and essential for the continuation of our species, suddenly there are more rules and conditions than there are for war or finance. Why is that? And why aren't these rules simple, universal, and easily understood across cultures? I'd genuinely like an answer. I'd also like to know who makes these rules. Some are written into law, and others exist as powerful social expectations backed by informal penalties, but they don't apply evenly to everyone. Famous people can live in ways that would be scandalous for an ordinary neighbor, even if both have the same resources. You can have as many relationships as people will accept, but you may have only one legal spouse. Behaviors considered acceptable in one country are illegal in another. So who decides what is right? And what are the good outcomes these rules are meant to create between men and women? I often wonder whether, when a man says he loves a woman and she says she loves him, they are actually using the same word in the same way. Do men even agree among ourselves on what love means? Where exactly is the line between infatuation and love, in a way we can all easily understand? Most of the research I've read suggests that men and women don't always experience physical intimacy in the same way. Men's pleasure is easy to measure and understand. Women's is more complex and less predictable. That creates a natural imbalance, not one created deliberately by either sex, but simply part of human nature. It means one side doesn't always receive in equal measure from the other, which opens the door for equalizers of various kinds to come into play. This imbalance exists in all relationships between men and women, both in long-term partnerships and in brief encounters. The big question is, who decides what those equalizers are, and who decides when they are fair? I find myself asking, why it is usually men who give material things to women. Men often provide shelter, support, gifts, and protection, while women, in intimate relationships, often give of themselves in more emotional or personal ways. In both long-term loving relationships and short-term low attachment ones, what are women's obligations towards men? What do women as a group feel they owe men, if anything? When men think about short-term satisfaction of their natural desire for connection with minimal personal interaction and no lasting ties, why do some of us experience such sharp pangs of guilt afterwards? Why is our concern often focused on younger, more attractive women? You rarely hear the same emotional turmoil described about older partners. Where does this concern about damage come from in the male heart? Do women feel the same about possibly hurting men? If so, how can we be sure? Most writers focus on money as the reason some women enter what might be called the game, and men, as the generally higher earners, sometimes use money to gain brief relief or companionship. If women truly care about men, some might ask, why don't more relationships of this kind happen freely, without money and without attachment, in the interests of peace and emotional balance for both sides? Women know men are attracted to them. They can see it in our eyes. They quickly learn the effect they can have on us, sometimes easing the pressure we feel for a while. Why must it so often be men who provide materially? Would our guilt disappear if no money ever changed hands? When a naive young woman from the countryside is drawn into this world and meets mostly foreign men from wealthier cultures, is she repulsed or, maybe intrigued by what she feels she has to do to gain some of that prosperity? Is being with many men inherently disgusting to her, or does that depend on the men? Is it considered equally negative for men to be with many women? Might a young woman be curious about foreign partners, quite apart from any financial aspect, at least until disappointment or broken promises harden her outlook? There are countless questions men must ask themselves and about women before we even begin to understand what might be proper or improper intimacy and the many possible outcomes. The questions and the way each answer applies to our own lives are honestly almost limitless. Let me leave you with a curious story I read not long ago in a Canadian news magazine. A 20-year-old Canadian model, married to her 21-year-old husband, left her fashion work in Europe and traveled with him to Japan for cultural adventure. She had looks and a legitimate career, but decided, with her husband's agreement, to work in a high-end hostess bar in Tokyo, frequented by business executives. This was not a venue focused on physical intimacy. It was a place where senior executives could relax after work with drinks and conversation in the company of hostesses, away from work stress and home responsibilities. Clients might invite hostesses on shopping trips or social outings, but the bar itself was about company, not explicit services. The woman explained that her main job was to pay attention to her customers, keep their drinks topped up, laugh at their jokes, and listen to them. She said that aside from the occasional trip, she didn't actually earn huge amounts of money. After about 3 months, however, she felt like an emotional prostitute, her words. And soon after that, she felt mostly boredom and something close to contempt for her customers, so she left. There has been a lot of talk about the damage that can be done to young women working in nightlife environments and how quickly it can happen. I like this story because it shines a light on men's behavior with women in a context that isn't directly sexual, apart from some flirting. It made me ask how women truly see us. Are we, aside from our foreign looks or resources, genuinely exciting or attractive to them all the time? Or do some women use their appearance and social skills to tap into our loneliness and guide us into a space where, even briefly, we feel accepted for who we are? Do we always have to be in the position of givers to receive what we need from women? Do so-called good girls also manage the imbalance between our natures to secure what they feel they need? Is there a power balance between the sexes that most men only begin to understand after years of experience? If so, which sex generally has the stronger bargaining position? Are we sure money is really the root of the problem, or is time a bigger factor? Time is the great leveler in relationships between men and women. Time to gain the things one believes are essential to a full life, whether those things are material or spiritual. But, time is not given in equal measure to everyone, and men and women may experience that pressure differently. It makes you think, doesn't it? In the end, it's all deeply complicated and honestly worth a lifelong personal exploration for every man. That exploration can only lead to individual answers and compromises. There are no schools or universities that can teach us this, no maps to follow, no personal trainers to guide us. This quest lies at the very heart of what gives life its meaning. So that was Guiseppe's story. A deep, sometimes uncomfortable reflection on how men and women relate to each other, and how society's rules around intimacy can feel confusing, uneven, and, full of double standards. He reminds us that behind every opinion about right and wrong are real people, real emotions, and often a lot of unanswered questions about love, power, and responsibility. What do you think about the questions Guiseppe raised? Do you feel that society's rules around relationships and intimacy are fair? Or do you see the same contradictions he talks about? And how do you think men and women really perceive each other in these situations? Let's know your thoughts in the comments below. We'd genuinely like to hear your perspective. If you found this story thought-provoking, please like the video, subscribe to Tales of Thailand, and ring the notification bell so you don't miss future stories and reflections from viewers around the world. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next episode with another tale of Thailand.